What's going on, Beowulf Nation? It's I'm Beowulf. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Existing subscribers, hit the bell notification. You get notified as soon as the video is uploaded. Also, check out the Amazon store, amazon.com/shop/IamBeowulf. Check out the free $25 with crypto.com. That promo link is in the description of my YouTube video. Also, check out the I Am Beowulf merch at beowulfnation.com. Let's get this video going. It says here, the war zone. The U.S. satellites are being attacked every day according to the Space Force General. No way. Again, is any news outlet talking about this? Probably not. It says they're getting jammed by lasers, radio frequency jammers. Let's talk about it. It says U.S. Space Force General David Thompson, the service's second in command, said last week that Russia and China are launching reversible attacks such as electronic warfare jamming, temporarily blinding optics with lasers, and cyber attacks on U.S. satellites every single day. He also disclosed that the small Russian satellite used to conduct an on-orbit anti-satellite weapon test back in 2019 had first gotten too close to the American one that there was concerns an actual attack was imminent. Thompson, who is Vice Chief of Space Operations, disclosed that these details that Washington Post John Rogin in an interview on the sidelines of the Halifax International Security Forum, which ran from November 19th to the 21st in Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada. The forum opened just 4 days after a Russian anti-satellite weapon test involving a ground launch intercepted, which destroyed a defunctional Soviet-era electronic intelligence satellite, which I did a whole YouTube video talking about that and how the International Space Station, they thought all this debris, and it was chaos. You have to see the video of what all was going on. They were like ready to evacuate, and all this debris is up there, and created a cloud of debris that was present risk to the International Space Station, ISS, like I just said, that the test drew widespread condemnation, including from the U.S. government, and a promoted renewed discussion about potential future conflicts in space. The threat's really growing and expanding every single day, and it's really an involvement activity that's been happening for a long time, Thompson told Rogin. We're really at the point now where there's a whole host of ways that our space systems can be threatened. Right now, Space Force is dealing with the Thompson calls reversible attacks on U.S. government satellites, meaning attacking that don't permanently damage the satellites. Every single day, according to Rogin, both China and Russia are regularly attacking U.S. satellites with non-kinetic means, including lasers, radio frequency jammers, cyber attacks, he said. And that shows like an image of just showing up like how direct energy weapons, orbital threats, and it's just kind of a neat thing, reversible and non-reversible. It shows reversible, non-reversible, so it's like kinetic energy threats, and then space situation awareness. It's kind of a neat little diagram defining up what is reversible and non-reversible. And there's showing how like uplink jamming, downlink jamming, communication, satellites. It's just some really interesting images so you guys can see what this is all about. I'll include all those. This is not the first American officials have publicly accused foreign power of conducting a reversible attack on the U.S. satellites. In 2006, the National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, the U.S. government top satellite intelligence arm, confirmed that spy satellites have been emulated by a ground-based Chinese laser. It was a test. It makes us think that the NRO director Donald Kerr said at the time, adding that there has been no impact to the satellite's intelligence gathering capabilities in that instance. Thompson's assertion that the kinds of attacks that are occurring with stream frequencies is new and underscores the rapid development and fielding by Russia's and China's, among others, a wide variety of anti-satellite capabilities something the U.S. military has called increasing attention to the recent years. Chinese are actually well ahead of Russia. Thompson told Rogin their fielding operation systems are at an incredible rate. The system that Russia and China are known to be developing are or have already fielding, including destructive and non-destructive types that are deployed from Earth, such as ground-based jammers, lasers, and interceptors, as well as a small killer satellites position in orbit. A killer satellite able to maneuver close to its target could use various means to try to disable, damage, or even to destroy it, such as jammers, direct energy weapons, robotic arms, chemical sprays, and small projectiles. It could even deliberately smash into other satellites in a kinetic attack. And they show another thing of like another cool image showing high power microwaves, radio frequency jammers, lasers, chemical sprays, kinetic kill vehicles, robotic mechanisms. And it's kind of cool image showing what all that looks like. It's pretty interesting. It's kind of crazy to think in space they're doing chemical sprays. It's new to me. In 2019, a small Russian satellite released a projectile and one on-orbit anti-satellite weapon test. Thompson provided new details about the incident in this interview with Rogin, saying Russia's satellites have first gotten in very close to U.S. national security satellites, and the U.S. government didn't know whether it was attack or not. It's maneuvered close and maneuvering dangerously and maneuverable threateningly, so that we're coming close even enough that there could be concern of a collision. Thompson said so clearly that Russia were even sending us a message. In January of 2020, other small Russian satellites closely shadowed U.S. spy satellites, something that also elicited statement of concern from the U.S. government. Beyond the clearly serious implications of the 2019 incident itself, Vice Chief of Space Operations comments underscore the challenge that U.S. military or the rest of the U.S. government face in deterring hostile actors or actually responding to acts of aggression in space. In recent years, American officials have increasingly pointed to the policy that other problems caused by extreme secrecy in surrounding U.S. military activities, as well as those conducted by U.S. intelligence communities outside of Earth's atmosphere. Another prime example is the secrecy issue. When asked, Thompson could not confirm or deny whether any American satellites have actually been damaged in a Russian or Chinese attack. Beyond that, he told Rogin that even if such a thing had occurred, that very fact would be classified. What Space Force's second in command could say added new context and weight to a series of on-vague comments from various U.S. Air Force officials back in 2019. Space Force was formally established as such a separate branch within the Department of Air Force in December of that year. There may come a point when we demonstrate some of our capabilities so that our adversaries understand that they cannot deny us of space without consequences, the Secretary of Air Force, Heather Wilson, said at the Space Foundation 35th Annual Space Synopsis in April 2019. The capability needs to be understood to our adversaries, she added, that they need to know there is a certain things that can do, at least at some broad level. The final element of deterrence is uncertainty. However, how confinement are that they know everything we can do, because there is a risk calculation of mind of adversary. It's not known to a stand in the ring, take punches. The U.S. Air Force's Chief Staff General David Goldfein said at the same event, you have to have the will and capability to punch back. You would have to be careful about what we declassify, but there's much more classified than that need to be. Barbara Barrett, who became Secretary of the Air Force in October 2019 after Wilson stepped down. Said later that year, the lack of understanding really goes to hurt us in doing things that we need to do in space. There isn't a consequence for the space, even though almost every use space before the first cup of coffee in the morning. Barrett had added that the time highlighted the U.S. military heavily reliance on wide variety of space-based capabilities. This includes early warning, intelligence gathering, navigation and weapon guidance, communications and data sharing, and more. Even reversible attacks against any of their space-based infrastructure could have major impacts on the U.S. military ability to efficiently conduct combat operations. The U.S. military has been open about its efforts to develop and field new and improved space-based capabilities, as well as explore new concepts such as distributed constellations of smaller satellites and a way to rapidly deploy new systems into orbit to help reduce vulnerabilities to anti-satellite attacks in general. Details about the U.S. military own so-called counter space capabilities, on the other hand, extremely limited to the ability to conduct that in deterrent orbited warfare. The data, the only publicly acknowledged offensive counter space weapon is a variant of a counter communication system, CCS. At present, Space Force Operations Block 10.2 versions of the CCS, but Block 10.3 type is knowing development that is reportedly more modular and scalable. According to Jane's, official budget documents released last year revealed that the Block 10.3 system is one of the previously only been identified by the nickname Meadowlands. And in announcing the L3, Harris Technologies had received a contract worth nearly $120.8 million to upgrade existing Block 10.2 systems. On October 22nd, 2021, the Pentagon did publicly state that they offer ground-based deployable electronic warfare capabilities to reversibility, deny satellite communications, early warning, and propaganda. That some contracting notice that revealed that there are 16 counter communication, a 10-point fielding system which is currently operating at Peterson Space Force Base, Colorado, Vandenberg Space Force Base, California, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Florida, and a classified deployed locations outside the continental U.S. However, U.S. officials have at least strongly implied the U.S. military offensive counter space capabilities are not limited to the CCS. And they show an image of what one of these things are too. It's like this giant satellite on a trailer. This is very interesting. This is a long article, but very interesting. I like stuff where I find new things I didn't know. At the end of the day, what this means to U.S. government is faced with a serious predicament when it comes to warning off adversaries in space and otherwise protecting critical assets in orbit, including ones that are very existence of which is classified. It's really difficult to go ahead justifying how you might attack somebody's homeland if they've taken out satellites you don't even admit exist. Douglas Lavario, then Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense of Space Policy, said in a talk in 2016, which remains one of the most succinct descriptions to date of the core issue at play. It's jamming attack, it's a laser and attack. Does it have to be kinetic hit or satellite to be an attack? From what we know now, the General Thompson comments, it would seem that the U.S. military has decided reversible attacks do not warrant direct relation at the same time from understanding about the veil of secrecy over the U.S. government operations in space, classified retaliatory actions that may occur regularly. Russia and China or any other hostile actor could easily be equally disinclined to publicly announce attacks on counter space capabilities that they don't admit that they possess. The United States will work with our allies and partners to respond to Russia's irresponsible act. The U.S. Department spokesman Ned Price said after Russia's anti-satellite weapon test on November 15, we, as you know, don't telegraph specific specifications, but as I said before, we will work with our allies and partners in different ways to make clear the United States that the international community is not given to tolerate this kind of irresponsible behavior. Regardless, if Russia and China are conducting reversible attacks against the U.S. government satellites every day, it certainly shows that the threshold is doing so in a low that those countries view the consequences, whatever that might be, as manageable and very unlikely to lead to open conflict. That non-destructive attacks have a potential to cause direct human fatalities, and the ease which they could be denied one further lowers the bar. All of this also raises questions about what countries might be doing in space that is directed against smaller nations that have little to no ability to respond to directly. That being said, Russia's recent anti-satellite weapon test that promoted renewed calls of arms control against to ban anti-satellite systems which present threats to military and non-military systems in space. That concludes indirect risks that come from debris produced by destruction of satellites in orbit. Vice Chief of Space Operations Thompson, new comments only reinforces that dangers that current environment present, where at least reversible attacks in space have become an everyday occurrence. This is crazy. This is a lot to talk about. I was like, it keeps on going. It is crazy that they're being attacked every single day, and nobody's talking about it. And they want to keep so much stuff classified. There's definitely, I have to do some video of this, because originally when they were using the space shuttles back in the 80s and 90s, those were all secret missions to put spy satellites and spy equipment into space. It's the whole reason NASA had all their budget. And you kind of funny seeing is, you know, all of a sudden the space shuttle program's gone, and because the whole program was all for funding top secret spy equipment up into space. That's what those cargoes. I think there was one where they had an issue in space, and they were not even supposed to be talking about what was on board the thing. It almost leaked out that they had some type of spy satellite. I think they were launching up that at that time, and they had, it's when the plates were coming out from underneath the space shuttle, and they were not knowing if they could. They saw them in video when they were going up into space, and then when they were up there, they didn't know if they could come back down. And then it was this whole thing that they were trying to keep this mission so quiet, and it became so public as they were in a distrust of the space shuttle. It's very interesting. I find it's cool. It's like, that's why I like doing these kind of videos, because you see a past video I did a couple weeks ago, how it goes into another future video without even knowing it. It's pretty, I find this really interesting. You make one video talking about something, and then shortly later, another article I find just connects the dots with a past video that I did discussing about something. And that's why I find this stuff extremely interesting to myself, is it just new stuff, learning it, and how the story all connects, the dots all connect together. I think it's wild. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Existing subscribers, hit the bell notification to get notified as soon as a video is uploaded. Check out the Amazon store, amazon.com/shop/IamBeowulf. Check out the I Am Beowulf merch at BeowulfNation.com. The free $25 with Crypto.com. All those links are in. Promo links are all in the description of the YouTube video. Be driven to win. Remember, every day is Earth Day. Stay mighty and keep strong.